Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's conversation. Today, we are privileged to be joined by Dr. Roelie van der Spuy, a Bible translation consultant, which is a very interesting thing to do and job to have. So I'm looking forward to hear more and to hear what you are going to tell us about that, and also your view on presence. So welcome, Roelie, and we are looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Imransha, and everybody listening. It's also a privilege for me to be here.
Wonderful. Please tell us more about yourself.
Yes, in short, I'm just calling myself a Bible translator, but I'm actually not myself translating, except for myself, which I will speak about maybe later on. But in my normal everyday life, I'm actually checking translations. There are two kinds of jobs, three, I should say, in the Bible translation process. These are the actual mother tongue translators. Then there are the exegetes. That's the first level up of a person checking the translation against the Hebrew and the Greek, and then a consultant coming then afterwards and just checking everything as well. I'm working both as an exegete on some projects and a consultant on other projects.
That sounds very interesting. I saw some pictures of the teams that you are working with and how they appreciate your work. So, and you also have international contact all over the world. You are involved in projects. So tell us a bit more about that, please.
Yes, we used to live in Russia and Azerbaijan for many years. Yeah. My youngest son, he actually never officially attended school in South Africa. When he was 5, we left South Africa and he wrote his matric, his grade 12 in Azerbaijan in Russian, and he came back and he studied at the Northwest University in Afrikaans. Yeah. So yeah, I'm daily speaking Russian with my teams. That's the most common language I'm using, and I'm also using some other languages as well.
Oh, that's impressive. Can you perhaps tell us something about presence in Russian?
Да, ну хорошо. Меня зовут Roelie. Я работаю в России. Я переводчик. Я перевожу Библию. Мне очень приятно всегда работать с другими, которые умеют переводить Библию. I said my name is Roelie and I enjoy working with people who are actually translating the Bible.
That's very impressive. Please tell us more about where your love for languages came from and where did you learn all the different languages?
Yes, I used to be a pastor. My dad also used to be a pastor. Actually started out as a missionary and then he became a full pastor in those years, working amongst the African people of South Africa. And I think as a child, I was so exposed to being involved in the work with other African people in South Africa. So in the end, I became a pastor myself in Senegal, working amongst the Sesotho people, Sesotho-speaking people. And I very quickly realized that I actually cannot work with them properly if I cannot speak their language. Of course, like most people understand the basics, you know, to tell a worker to wash the car or to wash the dishes or do something manual labor, that they understand. But when you start speaking to them spiritually or emotionally, most other people will not understand. So it forced me to learn Sesotho. So, and this knowledge of knowing that you can actually only touch somebody's heart if you speak his heart language, which is mostly his mother tongue. That knowledge really made a big impression on me. Long story short, in the end, we joined Wycliffe Bible Translators because that's their vision to bring the word of God to all the nations of the world in their mother tongue, in their heart language. And that's how it started. So then we went to Russia, worked a few years there. Then they asked me to work in a project in Azerbaijan as well. Yeah, that's how it came about.
That's amazing. And I so agree with you that we need to speak one another's language to really connect and as you say, speak your heart's language. And I think that's also an obstacle in nursing, and it's keeping us from really being present. Although we really try our best, but I think it will be of great help if we can speak more languages.
Yeah, I think my late wife used to say she doesn't want to have the children in another language. Because when you really suffer, you don't want to speak your own language. You don't want to speak another language. Yes.
Definitely. Yeah. That brings us to the question of what is your view on presence?
Yes. From the experience I had in the African community, I actually saw some very interesting things that are so different from our Western way of being present or being there for somebody. When somebody passes away in our communities, we take motard or something for them to eat, and we're very sorry, we dropped the meal there and we're off. In the African community, they literally come and they sit there. They don't do anything. They don't say anything. They would sit for 6-8 hours. They would sit through the night. They would just be there. And they did, since the husband or somebody died in the family, they would sit in that house with the wife or the mother for that day and the next day until it's time for the burial. So really, they are just there. And that really taught me something of being present. And actually supporting somebody just with your presence, without saying a word, and that was so big that I thought, oh, I would never be able to do that. I'm too Western. I'm too running around. I'm not that kind of person. Yeah. So if somebody can really be present with somebody else, their presence would definitely do something. Yeah.
No, definitely. I can imagine that is very, very meaningful. Just that person's presence with you, knowing that there is someone with you, close to you, joining you in the grieving process.
Yeah.
And I also agree with you that it might be very difficult to do.
Yeah, and as I just mentioned previously now, I spoke about my late wife. So when my wife passed away about 8 years ago, it's interesting, the things that I sort of emotionally remember the most of how people supported me is not by telling me God picked the best flower or things like that, but just by people coming to me, sitting there and said, I really don't know what to say. Just be there. They just said, I don't know what to say. But they came. They were there. And that really supported me the most.
Yes, I can imagine that meant a lot. To not feel alone and to feel someone is spending time with you. Being with you.
Yeah, because as I said, we're so used to do something. And maybe this is something we have to learn, just to be present with somebody.
Yes, definitely. I wonder if we can think a while about how to learn that. How to learn to be present like that. I wonder if it's a question of just practicing it, intentionally deciding I'm going to try this, or how can we start doing that?
Yeah, I think things like what you're doing by actually making people aware of the fact that they don't have to say something, they don't have to do something, they just have to be something, somebody, be there. Yeah, I think if people are aware of that, that might help them, because quite often people might say, I really don't want to go to the hospital to support people, to encourage people, because I don't know what to say. And if we can tell people they don't have to say, maybe it will be easier for them just to go and be there.
Yes. And as you also say, just to be themselves, each one of us brings something unique.
Yes.
our presence makes a difference. So we can
Yes.
just be ourselves and be there, and not having to think we need specialized knowledge or skills or the right words to say.
Yeah, and I think if you're a person that has really lots of empathy, and that shows, that will help the person. But if you're a friendly kind of person, and that will also help the person who needs the support. So both kinds of presence would do something different without saying a word. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Do you perhaps have an encouraging word for nurses about presence?
Yeah, I feel they don't know, or they don't hear really what they are doing, what they are contributing. Because, like being a pastor or a teacher or a nurse or whatever, serving in a serving capacity. In the end, you have to do things. You have to be there. That's your job. That's what you're doing. That's what you're trained for. But underlying, there's so much more. And I think nurses have to be also made aware of the fact that their presence do make a difference. It does make a difference to be there and to serve with a good heart, with a good attitude. And maybe we should thank them more. Maybe we should tell them more that without their caring presence and service, most people would not survive. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. No, thanks for that. I keep on hearing this message that we need to make nurses aware of how their presence makes a unique contribution, and that they should also be aware of themselves, so that when they enter a room, they know that just the fact that they are there makes a difference.
Yeah. I have a family member who's a doctor, and I've quite often hear that it is also very difficult for them, having in this COVID times, all the people who are so sick and so ill and need so much. That we should really tell them, or they could also tell the patient sometimes, I am tired. I also need some encouragement. And maybe the nurses, the serving ones, the doctors, maybe they will be encouraged by the patients if they just let them know that they sometimes do need some encouragement as well.
Yes, I so agree with you. That's a very precious message, that we can just be human and be ourselves, and just let others know this is what I need, or this is what I feel. We are so trained to be professional and to be, I want to say, to be perfect and to be okay all the time. But it is also okay just to be human.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on presence. And I so wonder if you would like to tell us about something that's close to your heart, and perhaps some projects that you are involved in and would like to share about.
Yeah, as we said in the beginning, I am a Bible translator, and I am actually translating the Bible in normal Afrikaans, in everyday Afrikaans, but it's not really published everywhere. But I do have some videos on YouTube that are quite often referring to different translations and how these translations connect to each other. Why are there differences in translations, and how this can be reconciled? Quite often, just by looking at the original word and see this word has so many meaning possibilities, and one translator chose this meaning possibility, another one chose that one, and therefore it might look as if some translations are actually opposing each other. If I remember correctly, we had a reading from Romans 12, verse 6, 7, 8 there. There, in the one translation, it was kind of saying, if you have the gift of speaking to each other, to another person. In other words, to tell them what to do, what's correct and not correct, then you should do that. In other translations, it was translated as, if you have the gift of encouragement, go and speak to people. And so it sounds so totally opposite, but actually in the original it's speaking to each other, and you can speak each other to another person in order to correct him, or you can speak to another person in order to encourage him. So the translator has to choose, and that's why it's so interesting working in the translation field. Yes. So if you, especially if you are Afrikaans speaking or you understand Afrikaans as well, you can just go to YouTube and write in my name, Roelie van der Spuy, with or without the word Bible translation. You will find some of my work as well. Yes, about Bible translation.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. And I can just think how enriching it is to know the original languages of the Bible and what it means and how it is translated. I think it opens up a whole new world if you understand Hebrew and Greek and see how it is translated.
Yeah. Yes, it is very fulfilling to do that.
Yes, but thank you also for your meaningful work that you are doing, spreading the word, and also all of the best with your Bible translation. I'm looking forward to that.
That's a private, small project that will take many years. Maybe when I am retired, I might put in more time into that, and then maybe within 20 years, there can be a new translation.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much and keep well.
Thank you very much, and God bless to all of you.
Thank you.